Hello everyone, it's Mari Clark here from Mari Clark Creations. Today I have a project for ABstudio. I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 layout, and I'm starting off here with some modeling paste and one of the ABstudio stencils. This is one of their 6 by 6 stencils. It's just got a bunch of leaf patterns on it, which is really cool. I'm just running the texture paste through the stencil onto my white paper. This is Vicki Boutin Foundations paper that I'm using here. And I'm just scraping just a nice light layer of this modeling paste through the stencil using my palette knife here. I'm going to repeat that same process here 4 times, and that's going to give me a good coverage on the paper of this really great texture. So when this dries, it's just going to create this really beautiful leaf pattern in the background. Now I do actually end up linking to all of the products that I'm using here today from ABstudio, so you can hit those links and head over to the ABstudio shop to check out all of the different products that they have there. It's a really cool company, and they actually ship to North America. So if you are in North America, you do have that option, and you can actually click the different currencies in the shop when you're shopping. And it is a company out of Poland, and they do just make the most beautiful scrapbooking papers and products. They've got really, really beautiful rice papers, and they have beautiful chipboard, lots of different kinds of stencils, and tons of different products. So make sure that you go over there and check them out. I think you'll really be impressed. And I've just really been enjoying working with their different products for sure. So I'm just going to put that last little bit of paste down here, this modeling paste. I'll lift up this stencil, and now that is all finished, and I'm going to set that aside and let that dry. So now that that's dry, I'm going to go in with some of my different Lindy's Stamp Gang Magicals. I've got some that are sprays, and I've got some powders as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and add these onto my leaf pattern embossed images here using from that embossing paste. And I'm just going to go ahead and add this color over top. So I'm going to spray, and you'll see me using a watercolor brush as well to add that color in over top of this really great texture. And I'm just using my Ranger heat tool as well to dry this as I go. And you'll notice I do dry the front and the back of the paper. And because the liquid does really saturate the paper, so it is important to dry the back of the paper as well. So starting off here with a little bit of water, and then I'll go ahead and spray. This is just a really bright green. It's a little bit brighter than I had anticipated, and I will try to kind of dull that a little bit as I go through here with some white splatter a little bit later, but a lot of it does get covered up with the different elements that I add onto the project as well. But I love the color. It just wasn't quite the tone of green that I thought it was going to be to match up with the pattern paper that I'm using. So you can just see here, I want these pools to dry, and when that pigment dries in those different pools, it dries a little bit darker, and you get a really cool variation of light and dark. Just add some fun dimension as well. So just using my heat tool to just kind of manipulate how that pigment is drying a little bit. Now I'm going to go in with this really pretty blue color. This matches perfectly with the color that's in the Big Eyes collection, and that's the collection that I'm going to be using today. So you can just see that I'm using the watercolor brush to help me just have a little bit more control of where the pigment is going. I'll also tap on some splatters as I go through, and just continuing to dry and just create this really pretty background. Love that. I love the texture that that stenciling creates, and just really, really so pretty. So now I'm just, again, taking the time to dry that and get some really nice dried pigment look going here. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue this process with some other colors and splatter along as well. Okay, so that's basically going to finish up all of that Lindy's magical work. And once that's dry, I'm going to continue on with my process. So I'm going to take this paper here and I'm just going to tear a chunk off the top of it. And that is going to be a floral element at the top of my layout. I am going to just roll up the edges of that torn paper, and I actually take that to my sewing machine as well and add a little bit of stitching along that torn edge of the paper to add a little bit more texture. So I'm going to go ahead and get this adhered onto my project now at this point. Some of the leaf pattern is obviously going to get covered up as I go along here, and that's fine. And you'll see that some of it gets covered up with this paper and some of it gets covered up with the photo and the embellishments. But the really great thing is that texture of the leaves and the Lindy's color, they're all just going to poke out around the other little elements that I'm adding over top. So I love that aspect of using these different things in the background just to create that interest, just create that really cool look on the background of the project. So I'm going to adhere my photo to my layout here. I'm adding a little bit of craft foam on the back of it just to bump it up and give it a little bit of dimension in that way. I'm adding a little bit of Barely Art glue onto the back. And I will just adhere this down. I want to just give it a really good opportunity to stick down to the texture paste and to the Lindy's. That product that's on the white cardstock is really going to take a strong adhesive. And so I'm going to just put this down and I'll give it a good press, and I'll actually even put some paper weights on it for a little bit to start drying once I know that I've got it on there straight. So I'll just use my T-square ruler to make sure that I have it on there straight. And at this point, I have allowed it to really adhere to my background. Now I've got a bunch of fussy cut pieces. The cool thing about ABstudio is that they do have bonus sheets and sheets of paper that coordinate with the collections that you can fussy cut all of these different elements. So I had a ton of ephemera that I could use on this project. I love that really sweet kind of boho looking rainbow. So I wanted to put that in the background between or behind these adorable little owls. So there's a mama owl and a baby owl, and I thought that just coordinated so well with the photo that I'm documenting here today. This is a photo of my daughter and my little grandson. And so just popping these little owls up onto some foam adhesive. They're so cute. And that little mug owl, there is actually an element that was attached to another little bit on the bonus sheet, and I just fussy cut it out separately, and I'll use it in one of the clusters that I'm going to create here. So really love how this looks. I think it's absolutely adorable. So many really sweet little elements. So I'm just going to fuss with the placement here a little bit until I'm happy with where things are. And I did kind of place things down before, and I took a picture of it with my iPhone. So you will see me kind of like moving something around above the layout there. That's just me looking at the picture of how I had things placed. So now you can still see I have a paperweight on the photo there, just making sure that it is really getting adhered to that background. And I've got these really sweet little flowers fussy cut out. I'm going to make a few little clusters of them and just trying to place these so that they're spread out and really draw the eye around the project. I love that the different little die cut pieces or fussy cut pieces really coordinate nicely with the color palette in that torn paper at the top. I think it just looks really, really nice. And I love how these colors all complement as well the colors that I chose from the Lindy's. And I just think it looks great. So really, really cute. Creating lots of dimension with my foam adhesive as well. So just making sure that when I layer one piece on top of another, that the dimension is sort of like one level higher. So sometimes I have to double up my foam adhesive a little bit, but that's fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a cluster to the top left of the photo again, just really trying to achieve a triangle here with my different ephemera. I'm using some of the foliage as well that I fussy cut out. So it's just really nice to have a combination of some larger pieces and some smaller pieces. It just really fills the space and Looks really nice. And I'm happy that I still had a little bit of white space around the edges. I really like that in my projects. I think it's important just to give a little bit of a place for your eye to rest. And typically that's one of the reasons why I really like to choose white paper for my backgrounds. And one of the reasons, of course, too, why I really like to make my own backgrounds as well. So just continuing to add these little floral bits here and there, just enjoying the process. Like I said, I just love having all of those fussy cut pieces to choose from. It does really make creating the project and allows for everything to come together so much more easily when you have that stack of fussy cut bits. So right now I'm just kind of looking for a home for this little mug. I settle on that top left cluster there. I just think it looks super cute, just kind of tucked in there. And really loving how this is looking at this point, just kind of lifting it up and looking at how things are looking and seeing what else I need. And I did decide that I needed a little bit more of that peach color in the clusters because at this point there really wasn't any. So I'm taking 3 of the little peach colored flowers and I'm adding 1 to each of the little floral clusters that I have. Again, just adding a little bit of foam adhesive to the backs there just to really create that beautiful dimension on these different elements. And I really do need to attach that leaf cluster at the bottom. It is a little bit too long, so I just snip off the end of it that's not going to show, and I'll just put a little bit of foam adhesive on the bottom leaf there, and then that's how that's going to be attached to the layout. And I'm just kind of looking at whether or not I want some more foliage over here. And of course, the answer is yes. Now, one of the 4x3 cards on one of the cut apart sheets in the collection has this little you and me phrase on it, which is perfect for a title. And I'm just going to fussy cut around these letters and just to create that title piece. So what I really love too about the ABstudio collections is they do have a lot of different little bits like this that you can use in different ways. And so if you are a pocket scrapbooker, there are cut apart sheets that are really great for that as well. And you can always be a little bit creative and inventive when it comes to figuring out how you're going to create the title for your project. This is perfect. It goes along so well with this photograph. And this photograph was taken recently. My daughter actually gave me, as part of Mother's Day, a photo shoot. And I think it was called a Mini Blossoms shoot. We went out with a photographer, her and I and my little grandson. And we had a whole bunch of photos taken in the spring when the blooms were still on the trees. It was really, really pretty. And so you can see that, well, I don't know if you can or not, but my little grandson there is wearing a little green romper. Just matches so nicely with the colors here. And then you can see the kind of coral color of the blossoms in the background are just perfect for this collection as well. So now I've just got this in a box on my desk and I want to add some white splatter, which I really love to do. I'm using Dina Wakley Gloss Spray in white. I love this because it dries dimensional. It's got a little bit of a shine to it and it dries super fast. It's very, very easy to work with and I'm splattering it on with a small paintbrush. What I like to do is just pour it out onto my desk and pick it up with my brush and then splatter it on. And I'm adding a really generous amount of this splatter. I think it's just going to look really nice when it's all finished. So I'm just adding this, splattering away. And when I feel like I have enough of the splatter on there, the layout will be finished. Now I have attached a couple of still shots to the end of the video here so that you can see the layout up close. And as I said, I have linked to the products that I've used from ABstudio in the description box below. So if you check that out and you click those links, it will take you right over to ABstudio to where the products can be found in the shop. And I really love the products that I find in that shop. I think they're just really different and very, very gorgeous. And so I hope that you make sure that you check that out and see what there is that's offered over at ABstudio. So I'm just going to take all of these little pieces of paper off the layout where I didn't want the white splatter to land, which is primarily the photograph and the title. So I'm just going to take some a little craft pick here and get those little pieces of paper off, and that will finish up my project. So I hope you enjoyed this today, friends. I know I really enjoyed working with these different supplies and creating this project. Have an amazing day, friends, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.